Welcome to Full Discourse with me, Josh Elkin. This is a space, a podcast where I invite all walks of the food internet industry to talk major moments in food's vast history, internet-wise, that is. But before we jump in, make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you'll never miss another episode, and maybe even leave a nice review. Or don't. I don't really care. In this episode, we're going to discuss expansion. We're going to be discussing growth from nothing to something and everything in between. You know, nowadays, it's normal to see creators and influencers online doing all sorts of collaborations, linking up with major brands, and really bringing in the bag, right? Which is slang for money. You know, they even develop their own products. They launch their own businesses from literally consumer good products to t-shirts to whatever. But back in the day, it was a really delicate place to cross. People were not really crossing those lines and not really getting into it until they were getting all sorts of scrutiny for it, but ultimately, paving the way for what it is today. With us today, we have a friend and an OG YouTuber, OG food YouTuber, food creator, and all-around great person and personality, Rosanna Pansino, who broke the mold and launched her first bakeware line at major retailers. She released her first cookbook on the New York Times, which became the New York Times bestseller. I think you were one of the first people ever to do that online. That book is Nerdy Nummies, which was also the title of your first show, I believe. She's done more huge products over the years, from television to even more products that have gone into stores, different shows, evolving like crazy. And we're just super glad. I'm just super glad to have an entrepreneur like Rosanna here on Full Discourse. Rosanna, welcome to the show.
Oh my gosh, that intro. Josh, I'm embarrassed.
Why?
I just get embarrassed. Intros always make me blush. So
can we just say,
that was amazing.
We're drinking
Thank
hot
you.
toddies, first alcoholic beverage on the show. Let's go.
I appreciate it. I'm trying to stay calm and chill until I get some medical results back. So
I know.
I've been having a hot toddy every day and just maybe some special brownies here and there just to chill me out.
Hey.
It's just what I've been doing to hang out with the dogs, exercising, just trying to, really calm down.
It's all good. We're here now. We're drinking hot toddies.
Oh, that's good too. You made a great hot toddy.
Did I? I used peach flavor.
God, I love it. And I love the honey. Just the perfect amount of honey in here.
We've known each other for a long time. I've never really asked you or even known how you got started making food on the internet.
I can't believe we haven't collabed more because we're both foodies. We're both in the food space. We've known each other for years.
We both like to drink.
Yeah. And we just made those cookies together. So that was really fun.
Yeah.
But we've just been in this space forever. And I feel like we both have so many stories about starting, especially in the food world. And then from where it was now to here, it feels like two different worlds, like two different YouTubes.
It really is. It's interesting because how some people, I'm aging ourselves here, but life before the internet, like people remember life before the internet. It's like when we started doing YouTube, there wasn't really a term called social media.
No.
It was just YouTuber, or even just like putting videos on YouTube. So I want to attribute that to life before social media.
Yes.
And life after social media.
I think it's a really interesting conversation because I have a few people who work with us who are Gen Z, and they always grew up with social media existing.
Right.
Whereas we didn't. I remember that YouTube did not exist when I was in high school. So it's not like I was in high school and I was like, I'm going to be a YouTuber. That didn't even exist. That wasn't even a possibility. My head was never there. And it's the same with just social media in general. I remember I first got a Facebook account. Do you remember when Facebook, you could only get it if you were in college and you had to have a college email.
Yep.
And I remember when it came out in college, I was like, what is this Facebook? And people were like, oh, it's networking with like other college kids. It's fun. You can like talk to each other and like you can see who's dating who and like you can put your relationship status and all. And I was like, oh, well, this is kind of fun. So I remember I joined, and then later, now, everything's opened up to the public and everybody uses social medias, but we really grew up with it as it was emerging.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of OG YouTubers, but like OG Facebookers, I don't even know if you would call them, but there's so many OGs on the platform that grew up with it. And it has changed so much from when it first came out to what it is now. It's grown a lot. There's a lot of great things I think that have happened, and then there's some things that I wish were different.
I mean, such is life, right?
Yeah.
So do you remember when you put your first YouTube video out? And do you remember what it was?
I think it was 2010 or 2011.
Okay.
I do not. I'm really bad with analytics, so
okay, let's just call it 2010.
Okay. Everyone can feel free to Google me. I'm not trying to get an extra year on my resume. I just honestly don't know. But I've been on YouTube for over 10 years, and I remember Mike encouraged me to start making content to like get more comfortable in front of the camera. At the time, I was living in Los Angeles. I was working on traditional sets. I was getting gigs here and there, and
like as an actress?
Yeah, both as an actress and working in production. So I was on camera and off camera. I was started as a PA on a show, and they actually had an actress drop out, and they had me fill in for her.
What show?
That was my very first. It was a fan fiction series being made, the largest Star Trek fan fiction series being made in Seattle. It was called Star Trek Phoenix. Yes.
Oh my goodness. Okay, here we go.
And then an agent in California saw it and said, if you move here, I'll take you as a client. So I moved.
Amazing.
Yeah. And I was like, let's do this. So I just took any gig I could find in traditional, and I was kind of bouncing around and kind of learning where I fit in. And I got a few guest stars down here, and I don't know. I just was starting.
Okay.
And then I met Mike, who was doing YouTube, and he encouraged me to start doing it, and I fell in love with it. My very first video was I was vlogging, because people would vlog.
Yeah. The term vlog probably wasn't even coined yet.
I don't think so.
Yeah, video.
Yeah, it was just
diary.
like a video diary of what you were doing that day.
Okay.
Which I thought was
so
cool, because I remember in college there was this food blog that I thought was amazing, and I couldn't believe that you could make money writing a food blog on the internet. Like a website could pay your bills. I just could not believe that. I thought that was so incredible, because there was this food blog in Seattle that I followed, and she would go to all the restaurants and she would take pictures, and then she would write reviews. And I thought that was so cool, because it wasn't like this old school stuffy food critic.
Yeah.
It was just this woman who loved food. She was a foodie, and she would just go to restaurants and give her honest opinion. And I thought, this is amazing. This is so cool. How do you make money at this? I learned AdSense, ads that play on websites, same as television during advertising breaks. And then the more popular your site is, kind of like your TV show, the more popular, the more advertisers will pay for those spots, those spaces. And when I learned that, I was like, this is so cool, but I still never thought I would be doing something online as a career, because it just seemed so magical and foreign to me. Like I just didn't understand how that would even work. And then when videos came out where you could do video reviews of restaurants and dishes, I think my mind exploded.
Wait, did you do that? Did you start?
No, I should have.
Yeah.
What am I doing? I just admired everybody else doing it pretty much. I just had no clue what I was doing. I just tried to get more comfortable. So my first video, I vlogged my sister and I in Seattle volunteering for Earth Day. We were like cleaning up a river, the Duwamish River. We were kayaking and taking trash out of the river, and it was terrible. I filmed on a flip camera, $80 flip camera. I think the highest was 480. Maybe it was 720, but I don't think so.
Back then we measured phone cameras with megapixels. It was like 2 megapixels. You had a Motorola Razr.
So bad.
Okay.
I mean, this is before the phones were nice. Like this is when
I don't even think an iPhone existed back then.
no, it was transitioning between the flip phone and then flat phones were just coming out.
Yeah.
I mean, this was like, and you could have pictures on your phone. This
Yeah.
was like a big deal.
Blackberries and Palms. Remember the Palm?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
Do you remember those Nextel phones where they had walkie-talkie
Yeah.
feature?
Boop, boop.
I thought I was living in the future. I was Nextelling all my girlfriends. We were like doing walkie-talkie with each other all the time. And I was like, this is the future. This is like military. I'm the coolest. This is the new military tech that has come out. But it was just vlogs. And then when we were planning on having a bunch, and they were boring. My vlogs were volunteering for Earth Day. They were going to flight museums. I love aviation, so I was like filming. They were shooting firearms because I enjoy shooting firearms with my dad. They were just a bunch of random clips from my day and moments in my life, and it was all pretty boring. And then I was baking for a party we were hosting for our friends. We have a bunch of gamer friends, and they were coming in town for E3, the gaming convention, and we were hosting a big E3 party at our house. We're doing a barbecue, and I thought, well, let's make some themed treats because we've got all the food, so let's make some desserts. So I thought, let's make this star cake and these little cupcakes that look like the 1-Up mushrooms, and I said, well, let's just film it. So
like we're talking about Mario Brothers, yeah?
Yeah, and it was awful. The video was awful. My lighting was awful. My editing, I was using like Comic Sans font. I was editing this on my Mac laptop that was 100 years old, and I was just using all the presetted, like it was awful.
Does this video exist?
Yeah.
You can find it?
I have pigtails.
Okay.
I am wearing a Target Boys Mario shirt. I have pigtails and ribbons in my hair. I mean, I thought I was looking really cute. Like I was like, my ribbons match.
This is 2010.
I've really done it here. I mean, I'm really.
Well, the way I look at that is you're not only are you making a themed cake, but you're also dressing the part. Like that's advanced right there. Come on. You have to have wherewithal in order to know how to do that. That's your PA set experience, being like, we need to have a call back here.
My big budget wardrobe move was I would buy matching T-shirts sometimes, not always. I couldn't get them in time. You know, sometimes I'd get a matching T-shirt to the dessert we were making.
That's smart, in my opinion.
Right.
Super
or I'd
smart.
go to like Marshall's or I'd get like a shirt that was like camo. And I'm like, this is perfect for my Call of Duty cake.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Wardrobe.
I am a producer.
So you make this Mario Brothers cake with your pigtails and your ribbons, which is super smart.
And my $3 bowl from Walmart that had a crack in the bottom, and I was so broke I couldn't buy another bowl, so I put Scotch tape over it, and you can see it in every shot. Every shot. And that Scotch tape held up. Okay, I didn't have any batter leak through this bowl, and I didn't replace this bowl. So embarrassing for years. You see this bowl on my set for years.
I feel like it's part of the lure.
And I'm just like, what? I could afford to go get a $3 bowl. I could have gotten a new bowl, but me, I was so like, I spent all my money on getting a new camera and lights. So I was like, okay, we can't spend any more money. We're just going to Scotch tape this. We're going to MacGyver this entire show together. And that's basically what happened. It was just MacGyvered together from the beginning.
I love that.
So after that video came out, it was the first time from the online community where they loved it. It was the first time that I got feedback saying, we love this show. There's no geeky baking show that exists on television. It doesn't exist online. There's a few one-off blog posts of like bakers who have made a geeky cake here or there, but there's no show of it. And we would love to see more of it. And I was like, oh, okay, well, then what do you guys want to see next week? So every week I would ask what they want to see next week, and then I would do my best to make it work. And sometimes I could, and sometimes I couldn't. And we just filmed it all, and we were totally inefficient. We didn't have great cameras. Mike filmed half of them with my flip cam, my $80 flip cam. I edited them. I was our own bottleneck. The first person I hired when I actually started making money on YouTube, because it didn't monetize for a while.
Yeah.
Like I didn't make any money my first 2 years. I probably made 50 cents.
From what though?
Like my 800 views.
Not even the views. Did they even have ads running on YouTube?
No, they didn't for a while. They started the monetization program shortly after I started, but I didn't even meet the thresholds to get paid, because you have to get so many views before you get your first check. I'm pretty sure that's changed now. I think there's probably a threshold of some kind. I mean, which is smart, because they don't, how easy it is to make a YouTube channel, and you post one video. They don't want to set up payroll for if you're only going to post one.
What it was back then was, if you got a lot of views, if you like became viral, which also wasn't a term back then, but like if you got a lot of views,
weird word.
Yeah. I hate that word, by the way. I hate it.
It sounds like a disease when they're like, you're going viral. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Like,
doesn't sound like a good thing.
It doesn't.
It doesn't feel like a good thing.
Let the internet change that, make it a good thing. But back then it's a good segue, because back then, if you popped off, if you got a lot of views and you got like 1 million views, like back then, which is still a lot of views, and back then meant even more. Then all of a sudden you have like Jay Leno calling you, or a late night show, or a daytime talk show calling you. So you're now going from getting 1 million views on YouTube to being in front of a bigger audience at the time, which was television. And now all of a sudden you're like, oh, people are recognizing me. Like maybe there's like an opportunity to use this in a way to make some money, right? And that's around the same time that YouTube was sort of like starting their monetization process. So that's when, you probably thought, okay, this could be a potential business. Like I'm going to continue doing this or whatever. And then do you remember when you first started like popping? When you first started like actually making money and actually getting views?
Yeah. And it felt surreal. I think that's the right word. Just because, on YouTube that had never really been done before. So when you're there, when it's all just starting and it's kind of this new world and it hasn't been explored yet, it feels very, I don't know, trailblazing, I think is a good word, but it's scary and exciting at the same time. And I know my parents were excited for me, but scared too, because they didn't know about the stability of the site and how it worked. And I just told them that I'm going to lean into it and try it. And what I really loved about YouTube back then is the algorithm was so much more light. It wasn't hundreds and thousands and millions of lines of code. It probably had 2 codes. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a programmer, but it just was little to non-existent. So the people that found my content were genuine, I don't know how to say this, genuine growth, and the community genuinely built. And it just created this consistency, and I knew what to expect later on in terms of like views and monetization, because I knew how many people in my community were watching and who tuned in every week. And now one of the biggest changes from then to now is that the algorithm is so heavy. It's heavy. There's millions and bazillions of lines of code. It's very sensitive. They program it to focus on certain metrics. Different years, it's always changing. And the metrics that it's focusing on now are, I get that you probably make a few more pennies because they're focusing on the metric of engagement in certain parameters, which is what they view. And I understand that probably makes a few more pennies, but I think what they're losing is the soul of YouTube. Yeah. That's what I've talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people feel that way. And it's kind of like, I call it the soul of YouTube, but it's the soul of a company. And in business school, they called it a corporate culture. Like every business has their own vibe, has their own corporate culture, like their own values, their own, they have different feels. They really do. And YouTube's soul, I feel like, for when it started, like the corporate culture has changed so much in a decade. And I think really in the last few years, I've felt a huge shift. And it's just, yeah, it makes me a little sad. I mean, honestly, the things that they're focusing on, I think that it's taking away from people creating content that they truly love and letting people choose what's popular. I think that is hard too, because I used to say, explaining it to like media people, like on those late night talk shows, they're like, "What's YouTube all about?" And I was like, "Well, you're chosen by the people.
Yeah.
It's a platform where the people choose who's popular. It's a platform where, because it's, there aren't all these gatekeepers, you can choose who you watch. But now that the algorithm is so heavy, it heavily suggests certain channels to you over and 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 over again. The algorithm is so heavy, it doesn't feel like people's choice anymore. It feels like the algorithm's choice. And that makes me feel sad, because it just isn't that natural grassroots growth anymore. And now you can pay for views. A lot of people don't know that on YouTube. A lot of people will advise, like, make content you're passionate about. And I just think it's really important for people to hear that now on YouTube, it's like Facebook, you pay for views. On the back end, it's built in, it's set up. It's a button on every video. And I think you can pick what region and whatever that you want to do, but I think it's $1,000 for 100,000 views. So if you want to get your video to 1 million views, you pay $10K. That's about the math of it. And large YouTubers do this all the time. I have a big YouTube channel that was built grassroots. It was built from the people. The people chose it. The people loved it. The people supported it. When the algorithm got stronger and stronger and stronger, my views started getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And they flipped off like a light switch. And the content algorithmically, and we checked all the analytics, I get over a 98% of like the thumbs ups. People are satisfied. And the watch time is doubled than some of the videos that I have on my channel that are like 15 million views. So all of the metrics are better than the videos that I posted then, but the algorithm is refusing to show them to members of my own community unless I pay.
Right.
It's kind of like Facebook. Like if I post something on Facebook, it won't post the video. It won't send it out to the people following me on Facebook unless I pay thousands of dollars. And even when I do that, I'll pay thousands of dollars and it will say, okay, we've sent it out to 48% of your fan base. So that means the people who have come to my Facebook page, they've hit follow, they've hit like, they want to get updates from me. Only 48% are getting updates, and I'm paying thousands for them to see the updates. And it just takes all of the natural growth of a business and it just kills it.
Yeah, because back then in YouTube, there's two things I want to touch on here, because you just threw down a lot. I
was like, boom.
You were dropping bombs. You were dropping bombs.
Bombs and hot toddies.
First one is the evergreen growth, the grassroots growth. It was, if you had a subscriber in the beginning of YouTube and you posted a video, right away they'd get a notification, an email or whatever, right away. So they would know to check that video, which is why back then we all had specific days that we would release, because they would know that every whatever.
We had to schedule like television.
Yeah.
Like a new episode would come out every Tuesday, or a new episode would come out every Saturday.
Furthermore, if your video was popular, YouTube would put it on the front page. Not the way it is today. Because now it's like it's curated to what you already are clicking. Like it decides.
Also, even when I'm not clicking.
Right. But back then it was like, it didn't matter what you were. If you were popular on the platform, they were putting you on the front page. There wasn't trending. That wasn't a thing. It was front page. Front page meant everything back then, right? So yeah, that was so important back then. Now it's like no one gets your notification. You got to turn a bell on, which is like feeding an algorithm, blah blah blah. And it's just, you're right. It dehumanizes the business on their end for the matter.
It feels more cold and robotic, and it doesn't feel like that natural community that I loved in the beginning. That Just being able even to respond to people and communicate with them was easier back in the day. When they rolled out the new commenting system, it got more difficult. And then to track engagement and metrics, now people have to like the video, ring the bell to subscribe. And now I think it's like the video, ring the bell, and even afterwards, they're saying it helps if people fill out the survey at the end of the video. That will help you in the algorithm if your community fills out the survey at the end of the video. So
I never do that. I've never filled out one of those surveys in my whole life.
You know, like they're like, if you like this experience, please feel free to stay on the line and fill out a survey.
Rate your experience from good to worst. The happy face, like it's freaking Purdue Pharma all of a sudden.
I get that they like information and I get that they're collecting data. Yeah. I get that and I nerd out on that. But when it starts hurting your community so much, where's the balance? Where's the humanity? Where's the human aspect to the business? I just think it's lacking.
It does. And then the community that you've built over all these years it feels disconnected, right? Because you feel disconnected because...
Right. I've actually been going live on TikTok. Mm-hmm. They have an amazing algorithm.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. I went live on multiple platforms because I was doing this big giveaway, and it was a YouTube giveaway of gifts to give to my YouTube community.
I tuned in on it. You're on Instagram too.
Yeah, and I went live on YouTube's. I went live on Instagram's. I went live on Whatnot. That's what I use because they have a really good program for giveaways. Yeah. I'll talk to you more about that later.
Yeah, I don't know that one.
It's a good system just for... because it chooses people randomly, so you don't have to even be involved. It's just great. And then TikTok. My TikTok growth, huge, Mike. It was so great.
So were you were doing like QVC style? Like, here's this. We're doing this giveaway for whatever this is, right?
I just started doing this, but every Christmas I just do a giveaway stream, and I'm just giving gifts to my community. That's it. I pay for shipping. I do everything. I give out. We did Stanley's KitchenAids because we're foodies. We did the Always pans because those are bomb.com. Those are amazing. So we gave out those, but we also did like big Lego sets. We gave out Xbox, the new one that everyone wanted that was like sold out. PlayStation. Excuse me. Thank you, Mike. I'm not good with this kind of stuff.
Do you remember like what not your first deal, but like your first time working with someone or a brand rather outside the platform?
It was an exciting time. I love that time because it was just starting to grow. We weren't just making content, like online content anymore. It was starting to have all these different branches of like possibilities for revenue. And that did not go across my mind. Like I wasn't thinking about that when I was creating content. So I was opening just these new opportunities, just basically new doors. And money was never really a great motivator for me in my life. I never had money growing up and I just didn't place that much value on it. I think the only thing I valued about it is that I knew that life with money would be a little bit easier and it create a shield for like for health things or, with your family and things. I think that's the only thing I valued about it. And then as a creator, as these opportunities started happening, I thought, do I even want money? Do I even want to accept these brand deals? Do I even want to? And what I had to think about is the balance of being a creative type and being a businesswoman and find my inner balance of what felt right. And for me, when I first started, I said no to 90% of brand deals. I just would not do them. And I think my agents wanted to kill me.
Was that because what you just said, like you just didn't, like you passed on 90% of them because you just wanted to be creative? Or did you kind of feel...
It also wasn't the vibe on YouTube. Like
that's what I was saying. Yeah.
Started to do brand deals on YouTube, people would call you a sellout. Yeah. So you had to be very particular about what brands you worked with and why. And I took that really seriously because what was the most important to me was creating content that I loved and this beautiful community that I grew. And I didn't want to mess up the trust. I didn't want to do anything to jeopardize the trust. So I would only work with brands that I actually loved, I actually used, like I had done research on, and that's how the partnership with Wilton kind of came about, is because I'd been using Wilton products since I was a baby.
Yeah.
Like I had been using their products since I was a kid. And in my very first Nerdy Nummies video, I'm even using Wilton icing.
Love that.
Like I like it because it's pretty good quality stuff at an affordable price.
Right.
It's not the bougie stuff, but it's affordable and it's a good quality. It's not the best of the best, but it's not bad. It's actually pretty good. So I really love that brand, and they reached out to partner, and this is the first time I really got excited. And so I think the first year we did a couple videos together, and they were really open to creative and like what I wanted to make and how I wanted to interact with my community, and I liked educational stuff. So I took my favorite products that Wilton was making, and I basically made educational videos of like how to use it, why I think it's so bomb, like why I love it, why as a baker this is amazing. And I remember one of the products I loved is their fondue pots, and I still do today. If you're working with like cake pops or you're doing any kind of dipping, it keeps it warm while you dip, so you don't have to keep reheating the stupid thing in the microwave. It's amazing. And it's cheap. It's literally like $12. It's such a smart thing, and it's so easy to clean. Even that, I can tell you right now, infomercial right here, because I love it. Even to clean it, because I use it. It's silicone, so when you literally let it dry out, cool, and then you can crack
Just
it.
Pop it out.
So they let me do a video and let me do it in my own words, let me do my own style. It sold out nationwide.
Wow.
And they said, this is amazing. Next year, do you want to do more videos? So I think the next year we did like 20 videos. And then the next year they said, would you be interested in working together in a bigger way and do a product line? And I said, I would love to. That is amazing. And with that was the first licensing deal I'd ever done. There's pros and cons with licensing. The pros are that the companies, and especially if they're companies you love, the products you already use, the companies already have the distribution usually set up for you, and they have the warehouses. The issues I had were with the creative and development. The products that I wanted to make did not exist. They did not exist for bakers.
They just wanted to throw your name on something that already existed, right?
A lot of them do.
Yeah.
And with Wilton, I fought. I spent almost over 2 years developing the Princess Pan. That's a brand new, has never been done before. Because until then, they had these doll cake things that you'd put those creepy dolls where they have a spike in the torso, and you just put like a half body. You'd like make a princess cake, and it's like a dome cake, and then you put a spiky,
and you shove a doll on top.
They're just so
Wait,
creepy.
which is the princess cake pan? Because I have one of your cake pans too over there.
It's like a try one. We developed it,
The
and
pink
it
ones,
was
right?
a whole thing. It took forever.
Is the pink ones?
And there might be pink or periwinkle.
I'll show you after.
They're pink or periwinkle.
I'll show you. I still use that one too for like obviously like breakfast and dumb shit that I make, but like I have that also over there.
Just a bunch of fun stuff like that, and it really grew, and it took fighting. That's the thing.
Did they manufacture new products for you?
Yes.
Wow.
They did do that one, and the poop mold. I really wanted a 3D poop mold. It did not exist online or anywhere. They had a 2D one. They did not have a 3D, and I told them that the poop mold, the poop emoji was big. I was like, it is having a year. People are doing unicorn poop. We need more unicorn products, and we need more poop products. It's big. People love it. I know it's weird, but let's just do it. They refused to call it a poop mold. I had to call it a swirl mold.
Oh my God.
So it was the swirl mold, but it performed so well. It performed so well on Amazon. It was the #2 most sold silicone mold.
Wow.
And that broke a record. It was just amazing.
Now there's poop molds.
I'm so proud
There's
of
all
it.
sorts of poop molds everywhere.
Now they're ripped off. Everyone's ripped off.
You
the poop
were
molds.
you were the what's the word I'm looking for?
First 3D poop mold maker.
Yeah, you're a visionary.
A visionary.
You're the poop mold visionary. It's interesting because you actually found something that you liked. You actually found something that you use constantly. So there was probably not that much discourse, no pun intended, considering this is called discourse, but like there's probably not a lot of discourse from your community scrutinizing you for selling out, because in reality, what we used to say is like we're not selling out, they're buying in, right?
Right.
But if you compare back then, 2012, 2013, 14, what you were saying before, brands were not hip to it. They weren't like at the table. They were still kind of like weary about this internet content creator, YouTuber sort of thing. And keep in mind for the audience, like social media wasn't a term. maybe Instagram existed.
I don't even think they called us influencers. They
That
would call
was
us
definitely not.
YouTubers.
Yeah, definitely not. Like YouTuber was the thing,
Yeah.
you know? And if you compare it to what the business is today, it's like, that's why this podcast exists. It's to show and to tell people what we had to go through back then in order to get to where we're at right now. Because now,
proving yourself and proving the buying power and proving the influence and the connection
and making sure your audience didn't like, now if you're a TikToker or like a new school person, like a brand deal is like a dime a dozen, you know? Granted, like there's levels of it. Then it was like you took something, you did something that what your audience didn't like, and you're selling out and would lose audience, right? I remember for us, like if we had anything that remotely resembled a vegetable, people were like calling us out. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. And then look, like as that's happening, when you signed this licensing deal and when you started manufacturing your own stuff with Wilton, were you with an MCN at that time? Or was that like you had already like not like past that?
I only joined one MCN and it was an all women's network, Kin Community with Michael Wayne. And I really just admired him as a business person. He was one of the smartest business people that I had ever met. And I wanted him to be my CEO. I even asked him to be. And he was like, well, I'm running my own company, bro. And I said, I know, but I want you to be my CEO. I could not afford him. Yeah. He's just brilliant. But he even offered to be an interim.
Yep, that too.
I'm a business minor. I went to college. An interim CEO while I was looking for one, and I just said no. If I can't have you, I don't want anybody, baby. I think that is a song, and that's how I felt, and I still feel so.
But like the idea of an MCN back then, like, is so foreign to creators today. For those who don't know, it's multi-channel network. Basically, it was like a company that signed a bunch of creators and like would promise the world, overpromise and under-deliver. In my experience,
they were kind of like
pyramid scheme,
poorly ran management companies.
Yeah, there was no management. It was garbage.
Like they kind of wanted to, bring in more brand deals or help you develop your brand. And they would say everyone that's in network, they would, promote collaborating and things. And I think that was the intention. But I think what actually physically happened day to day didn't really match what those goals.
Yeah.
And I think also in the beginning, it was kind of like the Wild Wild West. There's no rules, there's no regulations. And a lot of people couldn't even make money unless they were in an MCN. So back in the day, like for example, gaming channels, YouTube would not partner gaming channels independently because they were just coming back off of a lawsuit, I think from Viacom. They lost a Viacom lawsuit, and I don't think that they wanted to get in trouble with video game companies. So if you were a gamer back in the day on YouTube, you had to be in an MCN to make money, and mostly everyone was at Machinima. And how Machinima worked is the contract they offered Mike back in the day was they would only pay you quarterly. They would only pay you, they would take all your videos and then upload them on their hub. So they were the bottleneck, like they were the funnel, everything funneled to them.
Their YouTube channel?
Their YouTube channel.
So they would make the money and then siphon it off.
Yeah, they would make all the money, and then if it reached certain milestones, they would pay you out. That was the only way for gamers to make money back in the day on YouTube. Mike said he would join Machinima if they partnered him. They told him they would, and then last minute, right before they're about to sign papers, they pulled out and they said, we're not going to partner you because we've actually discussed it and it was going to help you too much. And so that's word for word what the CEO said to Mike.
That's how conniving these fucking companies
shady
were.
And short-sighted, just so short-sighted.
Of course, because now where are they at? Nowhere.
Yes, exactly. It's just they have no long-term vision. They just really are just in it for fast cash.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And they took advantage of a lot of people. A lot of people, a lot of talent. And that is one of my pet peeves. I hate when corporations take advantage of talent. I hate seeing it. It really pisses me off. And Machinima did it. And at the time, Maker Studios was a better option. Mike helped create the game station at Maker because they would allow you to get partnered. They were the first place where you could go, a gamer could get partnered. And at least that's better than not being partnered. And I think it was a 40 cut. I think they took 40% versus Machinima 100%.
Fuck.
And then they would pay you quarterly nickels and dimes of what they said you earned.
Without having any proof of anything, just like deciding.
Oh, it was so
whatever.
shady. It was beyond shady. That's what they said. There's physically no way to pay people.
But if you
every
had
month.
your own channel,
Known
you'd
as
be
payroll,
making money.
which every business has.
Yeah.
It's very simple, actually. Google, YouTube pays monthly. So I think you could figure it out.
That's what I'm saying.
I
right?
think anybody could figure it out. I think there's an app for that. So Mike started game. We're totally on a tangent,
It's
but
okay.
he started Game Station, and the contracts at the time, it was very industry standard when Maker was booming and growing for a 60-40 split. That was very normal. But when I tried to join Maker, because I knew everyone there, I was friends with everyone there, and because I was hanging out with them all the time anyways, those are my friends in real life, I thought maybe I should join. So the contract they offered me was a 90-10 split. They called it their incubation program, where they said they would take my channel and blow it up. They were going to, and I said, okay, well, my channel, I shoot everything. I film everything. I edit everything. I pay for all my supplies, all the baking supply, eggs, sugar, fondant,
Equipment.
I'm doing all the work. So if I'm going to be giving you 90% of my channel and I'm getting 10%, what are you providing? Are you going to build me a kitchen studio? And they were like, no. And I said, okay, well, are you going to be covering production costs then? Since you're taking 90% of my income, are you going to be paying the editor and are you going to be shooting the show? And they said, no. I go, so let me get this straight. So I'm doing all the work, I'm paying for everything, and you're taking 90% of my money? And they said, well, the value of being in the network and being able to collaborate with people here. I was like, I'm already collaborating with people because they're my friends in real life.
Yeah.
They're my friends.
How is that their business model? How is that like their selling point? Like, we're going to let you collaborate with people. Like
that was, it kind of felt like an old school record company that hey, if you sign on our label, you can work with other people at our label.
That is what it is. That is what it is.
I
never even thought of it like that.
And I was like, but I'm already friends with everybody at your label.
Like, shut up. I could do whatever I want.
I was
they were over last night.
I went to weddings with Danny and Lisa and Danny. I knew Maker Studios when it was 10 people. So it's not like, and we were like neighbors. Like we watched each other's dogs.
It's just another thing.
Lunch, like we were friends. It wasn't like.
It's another example of how the beginning of YouTube and the people that were there paved the way for what it is now. Because now you see anyone can collaborate at any point, and they do.
Yeah.
Because social media makes it very easy to do that. But back then there was like a weird barrier, like secretary, which was like the MCN that was like trying to prevent you from doing whatever you wanted so that they can cash in. And I think that where the business is at right now would never have happened if, unfortunately, we didn't go through that bullshit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we needed to know that those MCNs and these companies and these people were useless in order to get to where we're at right now, which is basically like true entrepreneurship.
For what I was doing and how I was scaling, it didn't make sense anymore. Right. And I do think that some MCNs, like I really loved Kin Community because we had a great contract where they didn't take a cut of anything that they didn't bring in.
Right. Smart.
So if they brought in a brand deal, they would get a cut of that because they brought that in.
Yeah.
And I share. And that's really a great model. And that's what I do I have agents. I'm at WME. I have agents at WME and they bring in brand deals and we have a cut. That is just good business.
It's smart business.
Yeah.
Whereas like the alternative to that is like, again, taking advantage. And when you said that, it really struck a nerve in me because it's literally my whole life. I've always been for the underdog. I've always been a champion of those who have been taken advantage of because I consider myself a very nice person, but when I know I'm being taken advantage of or when someone I care for is being taken advantage of, I kind of turn into a bit of a monster because like there's no room for that. You know what I mean?
It's awful.
It's such a terrible trait. You were telling me about your rescue dog and I was feeling for her because of these types of things. It's like, who takes advantage of a dog like that?
I know.
It's a helpless thing. Okay.
It's heartbreaking. Talent usually just, and there's a history of that from the beginning of time.
From the beginning.
And I think a really good advice that I have for people, if you get into entertainment and you're starting to get big deals and you're starting to really get a team of people who look out for you so that you aren't on your own having to fight for yourself so much, that you aren't feeling alone.
Right.
Because people who make me feel like, just good. I are like my agents. I've been with WME for this will be 11 years.
Wow.
And it doesn't matter which agency you're at. Also, the reason I love WME is because I was there right when their digital department started. I think I was one of their first digital clients. Like the branch, the division had just started, and we all didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know what to expect. We were all learning what the new norms are, what the new contracts are, and it was an exciting time. And I feel like we grew together and we learned so much together. And it really doesn't matter which company it is. There's great ones. There's UTA, CAA, WME. There's so many of them. It doesn't matter. It just matters. Do they have a digital department? And do they believe in you? Or is it someone who believes in you? Because if they believe in you, they're going to fight for you. And you're going to feel that trust with that person. And it doesn't matter what comes your way.
Yeah.
And I'm a really big into like long-term relationships. I'm a long-term relationship girl. It takes a lot to get me to leave. And that is just some tea. Like if there's somebody I'm not friends with anymore, just know that I have put up with so much for so long.
There's been some shit.
It was hard for me to walk away even then because I just take so much crap. I'm just built like that. I will take a lot. But so if I have to walk away, that says something. It's just, and I think it's a good advice and a good warning just for other people coming into situations.
Also, like believe in your craft, right? Like,
absolutely.
Clearly, you got to believe in your craft.
That is a great message. And my first cookbook, I have a little story. I'll tell you. I'm going to talk you to death.
I wanted to talk about your cookbook. I wanted to talk about it.
Okay, so the cookbook that I did, there was only a few YouTubers who had released books at this time. Mm-hmm. Shane Dawson had released a book. I think Michelle Phan had just released, my girlfriend Cassie, who does Blogilates, had just released a book. It was just starting. And the deals, Hannah Hart, she had done a book. The deals that were available for YouTubers, for book deals, were terrible.
Scarce.
They were offering 5%. I won't say the number.
It's fine.
Because I don't want to, that's not my business to tell.
Yeah.
But I will say my other friends who had done these book deals, they told me how much they got to do the book deal. And it was peanuts. It was peanuts. And those books were New York Times bestsellers and they were paid peanuts. And that's how it is for the people in the beginning. The people in the beginning who paved the way, the first people always get the shittiest deals.
Yeah.
And because they created those books, just a few people created those books and they performed well, I leveraged it. I said, because of my numbers and following, and I said, based on these other YouTubers similar, I said, I think my book is going to be a New York Times bestseller. And I don't understand why you're offering me 5% what you would offer a normal celebrity. And when I say a normal celebrity, I mean any kind, a radio celebrity, an athlete celebrity, a movie, a television.
At the time, traditional celebrity.
Any traditional, a model,
mm-hmm.
Any type of celebrity. Digital celebrities were brand new. Yeah. We were the underdogs. It's this new category. No one understands it.
It's a fad. It's not going to last.
It's not going to last.
Yeah.
And I just got so sick of hearing it. I felt like I knew numerically what I was worth. And I went into my meeting with my first literary agent, and her and I Mike's gonna, we did not see eye to eye. My literary agent and I fought the first time we met.
I love that.
We did not get along. I love her.
Actually,
we get
I
along
love
now.
that.
I love her. But literally,
Wait,
when
so
we
you're
met,
still with her?
yeah, I'm still
That
with her.
just contributes to your
Long-term relationship.
That's what I'm
gal.
saying.
Look,
Okay,
you know,
bring
you
it
have
full
bumps.
circle.
You have bumps. You just get over the speed bumps. Every relationship has bumps. Again, because she's a wonderful person. Again, it takes a lot for me to leave.
I mean, I love that.
Yeah. So she was like, "You're not going to get that. No one's ever got that. That's impossible. I'm not going to go in the meetings with you." She was like, "I will set up the meetings and you can like call in, but I'm not, look, that's all I'm going to do." So I said, "Fine, do it." So I set up the meetings. I did all of them. I presented the numbers. And we got a bidding war between Simon Schuster and Penguin, the two biggest
big ones,
publishers.
yeah.
And we beat my goal.
Hell yeah.
My agent went, "Okay, then."
Yeah.
Little piece of history.
They get it. That is a little piece of history
It
because
is a
you know
little
what?
piece of history.
Today, first of all, the idea of traditional media, the idea of traditional celebrity is completely flipped compared to then to now in a short 10 years.
Yeah.
Because now, I think I've told this story on this podcast before, but I'll share it with you because it's really good. In this point, my parents are in their 70s.
Same. My mom just turned 70.
Okay.
I think I showed you a picture from her party.
Yeah, of course. Well, I met her at your house, like when I came over
Did
for
you
the
see
cookies.
her party picture?
No.
Later, I'll show you. Okay.
So I had this cushy job, corporate job, before I jumped into YouTube full time, and my dad was like, my parents were very not down. You have this job, you're making this great money.
They were worried.
Of course they were. Granted, you have insurance, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, look, guys, I was 30 when I jumped in full time. I was like, I can give this 5 years, and if it fails, I can restart whatever I want. And my dad looked at me and he's like, "Do you really think YouTube's going to surpass television?" And I was like, "Thanks for making my decision easier. Because it's not for you." Okay.
Yeah.
And now the idea of traditional media, like YouTube, is television now. You know what I mean? Like YouTube, internet is media. Look at news outlets now. They're failing by the hip. Sitcoms failing. Like everything is online. Everything has to do with the internet. Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max. You look at Food Network, like they are one of the last ones left that are doing traditional media. So to talk about your literary agent who like had a light bulb go on and be like, okay, I guess this is the new way we do things. And it's what I mean by that is like, you took it under your wing. You made the decision. You believed in yourself, while the older person, boomer-ish, kind of didn't believe. And now all these traditional celebrities, all these athletes, I'm going to stop doing air quotes. All these athletes, all these models, all these
athletes,
whatever. Now they're trying to get on the internet. Now everything is on the internet. And unfortunately, we dealt with some BS along the way, but we're still here talking about it. And we're still here being able to tell the story and benefit off of the current climate. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the internet.
Yeah. Me too. I love the internet.
It's changed so much, but I really love it.
Listen, before we wrap it up, I was on the internet when dial-up was a thing.
Same.
Okay. Exactly. I don't know. Mike knows this for sure, but MIRC. Okay. Do you remember IRC? Do you know that? You're a nerd, so you get it. Okay. I was doing that. I had MIRC or IRC was the first thing that used the pound sign as a hashtag. Okay. But needless to say, we were there, we were in the middle, and now we're here, and we have so much awesome history to talk about. And I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing the history, not only for me, because I thought it was really, really interesting, but for the world to understand, you know, what's the term? You can't go somewhere unless you know where you've been. Something like that.
I like that.
Yeah. You can't, there's a term there. We'll fill it in subtitles or something. Anyways, thank you so much for coming by.
Thanks for having me.
And having hot toddies with me.
And thanks for the toddy.
Yeah.
I love the toddy.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Anytime.
If you want to talk, I'm part Italian, so I could do it forever.
If you want to toddy, we can toddy. All right. Is there anything that you want to talk about? Any new projects, any new cool things that you're working on? Cookbooks, shows, podcasts?
Yes.
What?
All of it.
All of
We're
the above?
building a film studio. I showed you in our backyard.
Looks amazing.
And I think it should be done in a couple months.
Love
and
it.
we plan on making some shows there. And it's going to have all the specs for television. So we have a lot of companies that are interested in making traditional food shows there.
Mhm.
And it's going to save them money. So I'm very excited because it's all going to be in-house and
Yeah.
have all the equipment, all the space. They don't need to rent anything. And then podcasts. I have 4 ideas
Plural.
right now. I'm not
Plural.
going to go into all of them, but what I've realized last year taught me a lot, and I've learned that I have a voice, and I've been through so much, and I think talking about it helps. So I think podcasts are the future, and we got that new little pup who's here today. So if you guys hear any snorting, I'm sorry. She's on Mike's lap and just hanging out. Thanks for having her, a little honey bun. We named her Honey Bun.
I love that.
Just because she's sweet as honey.
Also, honey buns are delicious,
Oh my gosh, I know.
right?
Yeah, so that's basically everything in my life is rescue dogs. She's our first rescue studio podcast. We're going to have some fun
Just
this
good
year.
times. Just good times.
Yeah, more good times.
Cool. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Till the next one. Full Discourse is a podcast hosted by me, Josh Elkin, produced by Diane Kang, Melissa D. Montz, and Diamond M Print Productions. Camera operator Jeff Liu, post-production sound by Coco Lawrence, production assistance by Melanie D. Watson, and music by me.